Well, is it February yet? Nope. Wow. Um, that was definitely a very shocking and very sad mid-season finale. Not like we were expecting anything less, but that was definitely a very devastating episode for a lot of people. Um, this is Derek, and I'm going to be bringing you my review for this evening's episode of The Walking Dead, which was Coda. Major spoilers. I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the episode, so if you have not watched the episode yet and you do not want to be spoiled, do not watch the video or you will be spoiled. Okay. Um, this episode featured the death of a great character, Beth Green. She died in this episode in a very sad way. And I'm definitely feeling very saddened by her death, like many other people are. And I think Beth had such a great story. I mean, the thing is Beth went through a very big change throughout the entire series. I mean, I remember her in season two going from being the scared girl, who wanted to kill herself near the end of season two, and wondering, what's going to happen to this character, because I thought, maybe she might be one of the people that would have been eaten in the season finale of season two. And, a lot of us have been thinking for a very long time that Beth was going to die. And she continued to survive. And I was very happy by that. I never want to see a character die. But I always wondered, what are they going to do with that? Because season three really isn't focused on her as much. But once you get to season four, she really starts to take a more, center stage approach. And they really did great things with her character. I think that Beth went through one of the best transformations of any character in a very short amount of time. And it really grew. She really grew on us. Emily Kinney is an amazing actress. And I think that it was, sad to see her go. On Talking Dead, I could really see the pain that she was feeling at having to leave this character behind. Because that's the thing, is these guys on the show are really like a family. Anytime you're acting on like a show, you really are like forming a family, and now one of their family members is gone, and it's sad. Um, it's really sad to see. But a lot of things, happened tonight. We had Gabriel basically going out to the school and seeing, excuse me, seeing the leg of Bob that was eaten by the hunters. And I think that it really brought Gabriel back into perspective about, who really are the good people. And he does bring a ton of walkers back with him to the church. But I definitely think that it helped solidify who he was. And it's kind of ironic. He kind of technically had his first zombie kill. It was an unintentional one where, because of the fact that he put the machete in the wooden floor, it fell. The walker fell and split its head right down the middle. But I definitely think that, it was definitely a step in the right direction towards Father Gabriel's character. And I definitely think that they can do a lot of good things with that, especially in the future, now that he is definitely with the group. Because I debated whether he would actually be a part of the group or not. And it's now official that, he pretty much will be traveling with them, which will be a good thing. I think it's a very positive step in the right direction. We also had, Michonne definitely doing some great samurai tricks. I really loved seeing Michonne finally step back in there and do some zombie kills with her sword. It's been a while. And one of the bigger moments of the episode was that cop that got away in the last episode gets caught by Rick. Rick basically gets on the loudspeaker of a police car and says, stop or else. And when the guy doesn't stop, he runs him over. And this is very parallel with a scene in the comics when Rick ran over Martinez, who is a TV show character as well. In the TV series, he's killed by the governor, but in the comics, he was killed by Rick. Because he was acting as a double agent, going to find where Rick's group lived and then going back and telling the governor. And Rick ran him over, and basically the guy was like, "I'm sorry, please don't, kill me. You broke my back. Help me." And Rick in the comics, he strangles him to death. But of course, one of the things you try to do in the TV show is you want to continue to try to portray these characters still as protagonists and heroes in many ways. So it was kind of like more of a mercy kill where Rick just shoots him. And I think that Rick's thought at the time was, getting rid of a threat. And I think that's part of the reason why, Rick didn't want to go through with this hostage exchange is because somebody kidnapped a member of his family, per se. All these members of this group look at each other as family, not just friends, not just survivors. They are a family unit. And when you mess with somebody in the family, it's not going to go well for you. So I think that at that time, Rick was thinking, hey, if we go in there, slit a couple throats, shoot a couple people, we can rescue Beth and Carol, and that's that. And, it could have worked. And I think that, having this happen definitely, changed things. But I think it shows, that Rick is still, taking those leadership steps. And at that point, he realized he couldn't do nothing for the guy. I mean, the guy's back's broken. It is what it is, and he just shot him. I think that it, was really Rick taking a step, towards being that leader again, which I think he has kind of, always had in this fifth season. But it was definitely important for him to step up again. And I think it was I probably would have done the same thing. There's really not really much you can do for him. You can't trust the guy. But definitely was a big moment in the episode. Definitely was surprising to see. And it goes into, is Rick, really in control, or is he insane again? And is he going to be reckless and get people killed? That's definitely something that we're going to hopefully see in this next half of season 5. Another big thing that happened, Dawn's leadership is once again challenged, and one of the officers basically tried to, like, he basically was another one of those like abusive type officers, kind of like Gorman was, and he pushed down that old guy in the last episode. I think his name is Percy. Basically just pushed him down when he didn't sew his uniform. It's like, come on, man. And how he wanted to take the power away from Dawn. And basically, Beth comes to Dawn's rescue and shoves O'Donnell, I believe his name was, down the elevator shaft and kills him. And, I think I've always looked at Dawn, and I think that, part of the problem with Dawn's leadership, and I think the reason why people don't respect her, is because she's too conniving. That's how I look at it. She tries to tell Beth, in that scene after it happens, that she's not really trying to manipulate Beth. That's total BS in my opinion. I think that Dawn is one of the biggest manipulators that, I've ever seen on this show. Not as much as the governor, I mean, the governor we had a little bit more time to explore. But Dawn has a lot of those manipulative traits like the governor, but instead of her necessarily using them all for, evil purposes, I think that she tries to use them for good in some ways. But I think that the problem is that, when you go behind people's backs and you betray them, or you say you're going to do one thing and you do something else, you're very inconsistent, and that's not something that is necessarily a good thing. At least we can say that Rick is honest. I mean, honestly, Rick came back and told the group what happened. This is what happened. Where, I ran the guy over, I shot him, I told him to stop, he didn't stop, I did what I had to do. Rick could have lied. Rick could have easily just been like, yeah, he got eaten. His hands were tied behind his back. The walkers got him. What the heck was I supposed to do? He could have lied, and he didn't. And I think that it shows why somebody like Rick is a better leader than Dawn. Because when you start to become manipulative, and when you start to lie, and when you start to, not follow through with what you're going to do, nobody's going to trust you. And I think that that's Dawn's problem, is that she didn't have the guts to stand up for what she believed in, and she let these abuses go on in the hospital. And the people that were against that didn't respect, her for doing those kind of things. And I think that it showed in the end, like, why certain people would challenge her leadership, because she'd say one thing and would do something else. And I think that it's not a good strategy. You have to try your best to please people, but if you can't please everybody, you can't please everybody. And I think that Dawn should have put her foot down in many instances. When she knew that Gorman and Jeffries and O'Donnell were abusing people, that should have been taken care of early. They should have been given their chance to behave, and if there were any problems, Dawn should have done exactly what she did with Hanson and put a bullet right in the back of their heads. That is her being a leader. I think people would have respected her more. Um, but she failed to do that. And I think that that is part of the reason why, she ended up being a bad leader. And I think it's what got her killed, is just her manipulation is just not something that is acceptable. And I don't care what she says. I think she's a manipulator. I really do. And, I hope that other people might see that. I can understand if you guys don't. And you can definitely feel free to talk about that in the comments after the video. But in the end, they do a hostage exchange just like Rick wanted to do, and the officers are willing to go along with the story that the Officer Bob was actually eaten by walkers instead of actually being ran over by Rick, because it kind of prevented any more hostilities than were necessary. And they end up going through with the prisoner exchange. Both sides go across and they get ready to leave, and Dawn says, "I want Noah. Beth was my ward, and you're taking her, so I want Noah back." And of course, the group's not up for that, especially Beth. And I think that part of the reason was, they saw the kind of things that were going on in the hospital, and Noah told them exactly what was going on. And I think that Noah probably would have been killed or got the crap beat out of him. I think one or the other was definitely going to happen, and I think that was part of it. And I think that in some ways, Dawn, when she did that, I think that what she was trying to do was two things. One, she was trying to be a leader. She was trying to, I think, demonstrate to the cops that she's still a force to be reckoned with, and she is going to come out as a winner on this bargain. It's like, hey, we got our officers back, and we got Noah back, and we got rid of a cop killer, Beth, and a problem in Beth, and we got rid of somebody, like Carol, who, those two were in cahoots. And I think that she could have spun that and been like, hey, I came out on top, especially with Noah. And I think the other reason is because I think that she believed that, again, that she could continue to coerce Noah into, following her and listening to her again in some ways. I think that that was very possible, that she needed safety in numbers. I mean, that's the thing. I think that part of it was having people on your side is going to help you. And, I think that that was part of her reasoning behind it. But, I think that, what Beth does, that gets her killed, she walks up to, she had hidden scissors inside of her cast, and she walks up to Dawn and says, "I get it now," and then stabs Dawn with the scissors. And then Dawn reacts by shooting Beth in the head, which follows by Daryl shooting Dawn and killing her. And everybody's, got the guns pointed, but Officer Shepard, the other female, that one of the hostages, basically takes control of the situation and says, don't. Everybody lower your weapons. This was all Dawn. We were prepared to, follow through with the exchange, and Dawn was the one that, broke protocol. And I think that, the groups realized that enough blood had been shed, the problem was taken care of, and I think that hospital will be run a lot better now that all of the abusive officers are dead and Dawn's dead. So I think that they'll be able to be run a little bit better. Maybe. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see them again. I think this was the last episode that we'll be exposed to them. But I think that, in the end, Beth decided to do what she did. Part of it, I think, was because she didn't want to lose Noah. I think that in some ways, I think she felt that she owed Noah, and by stabbing Dawn, she was making sure that Noah would never be hurt again, and that there was a chance that she could have escaped. And part of me wonders if she really realized that by doing that, she was, in essence, killing herself. But I think another thing, which is something that they kind of talked about on Walking Dead, it was, Beth wanted that one more, you know, thing. Like, it was kind of like, hey, we're getting out of here, we're going on, but you know something? Dawn, this manipulative person who, causes a lot of harm, could potentially hurt Noah. I don't want that to happen. I want Dawn dead. And I'm going to take action because nobody else is going to do it, because that's what I want to see. I want to see this hospital run better, and I can make this happen. And I think that she, that was part of her reasoning as well. But it was definitely very sad to see Beth die, and even sadder to see like Maggie just. Oh, I knew the moment that that gunshot went off and Beth was dead. I knew that the second Maggie saw it, it was not going to be good. And that's the thing, is like you're thinking at the same time about Beth, Maggie, Daryl, Rick, Noah. I mean, everybody is going to be affected by this in some way. Maybe not so much our new survivors who don't know Beth, but no doubt in my mind. I mean, that's the thing. Beth had so many connections to so many survivors, and I just know that for episodes to come, Daryl is going to be hurt. Carol is going to be hurt. Rick is going to be upset beyond belief. Glenn and Maggie, and even just a lot of things are going to come out of this. I think. I don't know if they'll be for the better or the worse. I mean, I just hope that the group can somehow, find a sanctuary, find something, and just find another reason to keep going, because it's really hard right now, I think, for them to really find a reason to keep going. And I think that it's going to be a very sorrowful ninth episode, and the ones to come, they really need something right now. They've lost hope with Eugene not being the scientist. They've lost hope rescuing Beth. Beth is dead, and it's just a very sad situation. So I definitely think they did a great job on the episode. I'm very interested to see what they have coming up. They have really done a great job of this first half of season 5. I have been so impressed with what they have done. I really am excited for February and what is to come. So, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I have more videos coming. And if you have any video topics that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Again, I'm going to do another countdown, so that way you guys can still follow along. You can get some Walking Dead updates, some predictions, some top 10 lists. I have my zombie kill count discussion coming up, as well as the near-death count to see who's had the most near-death experiences. I have a lot of things coming up. I am going to keep trying to get videos out at a reasonable amount of time. I do have finals coming up, so it's going to be a little bit touch and go, but bear with me. I will do my absolute best, and you can continue to count down with me until Walking Dead comes back. I want to thank you all that have been watching. I really do appreciate it. It really does mean a lot to me, and like I said, I still have videos coming out, but I really want to thank each and every one of you for this. I will continue to keep making videos, and I really do appreciate every single one of you that has watched and subscribed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and thank you again.